Yo, yo.
Welcome back, Wooly. I'm glad to have you back in the country. I hope you had a nice trip.
I did have a nice trip. Thank you.
Whoa, what's up? Oh, did I freeze immediately? That's hilarious.
Immediately.
Immediately. That's hilarious.
Straight away without delay.
Oh, that's so fun. That's great.
The timing is getting funnier by every episode. And yeah. Okay. All right.
Why does this only happen with you and only with this specific video call?
It really baffles the mind, and it's not the kind of thing that's so aggressive that I'm like, throw it all out, burn it down.
Oh, right. Yeah, but like I've been having Discord calls all week for hours.
Yeah.
And not even a blip.
No, I know. It's bad. And I do calls on this as well, and they're fine. It's literally just this one. It's kind of incredible.
The Trans-Canadian Pipeline somewhere.
It's not such a big deal that I'm like, burn it all down. But at this point, after this much repetition, I guess it's burn it all down.
Hey, hold on. I'm going to disconnect and reconnect in like a second.
Okay.
And we'll see if that helps.
I mean, death by a million cuts. It's it's just becoming.
Did that work? Am I back?
Not visually. Just.
Oh, that's great.
You know, it's kind of incredible.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. When I.
Time to look into Teams.
Just for this one, huh?
Yeah. Whoa.
I guess so, man. All right, here's my question.
Hold on, let me get the gun to put in my mouth.
All right, here's my turn.
Here's your...
Boy, it's literally only with Pat. It's so weird. Okay, all right. Enough of this. What is this? A solid 4 weeks straight or so? I don't know. God, we got to get on Slack, maybe. Ugh. I really hope not. Man.
Hello.
Is Slack the solution?
Did you like restart your computer in that time?
No. I just, whenever that happens, it's because I'm quitting out of Discord and restarting it. That's basically the thing.
Oh, right.
So, yeah. It might just be. The answer might just be Slack.
Slack. Oh, I'm back. Hey, everyone.
Yeah. Teams. Hey. Skype.
So, it worked fine when you exited out and came back, but not when I exited out and came back.
Mm-hmm. So it's Discord on this side. Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Fucking the Montreal to Vancouver hate connection.
Like in that direction specifically.
It's full of spite and ire. It knows who it's connecting to. Anyway.
Oh my god.
All right.
So how was your trip?
It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm all right. I think I managed to defeat any major jet lag by staggering my naps,
It's a lot easier now that we're older and we can just decide to go to sleep at any time because we're just old and tired now.
Yeah, and I usually ignore my body on a regular day. So all I had to do was not ignore my body, and then turns out my sleep calendar is reset. So not too bad.
I was hanging out with the baby the other night in the middle of the afternoon. It was like 2 p.m. and I was like, hey, the baby's on my lap, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, I could just close my eyes and decide to go to sleep right now. And that would be wildly irresponsible and dangerous.
Don't do it.
But it would also be very comfy.
It is there. It is an option. It's not a good option, but it is an option on the list. Yeah, no, it was great, man. I mean, a week is obviously not, it's not enough time to do and see most of everything, but it certainly was enough for just, scratching at some of the curiosities I had and getting up to, seeing enough of the history and getting a different look at the difference between, like, the main city life and the island life, and enough museum and history stuff and everything to get a full picture of the place. And yeah, it was great, man.
Did a Greek guy come up to you and go, "This is where we invented society"? And you're like,
Democratia. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. No, I mean, so that always that's my friend's parents here back in Canada actually. And like, yeah, there's a lot of Greek people in Montreal in particular. It's a spot, like I said, I grew up in high school with a fuck ton of Peters and Dimitris and Costas and all the crew, and they'd LRE their way through every morning. So we got to I got that's where I was introduced to a lot of it. What was cool was the long locked alphabet that I had learned from that one summer Greek class I took in college. Like,
oh really?
That was unlocked. I was like, oh shit, I still have that. That's cool. I can read Greek signs and Greek letters and pronounce them, and I have no idea what I'm saying. I don't know what it means, but I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I can contextually put together this, and if the word sounds vaguely similar to something English, and I'd be like, oh, yes,
Maybe.
okay.
Maybe.
Right, there's a couple of like quick, because I'm like I remember a couple of quick rules that you kind of come up with. The thing that looks like a P is not a P, that's actually an R, but the thing that looks like a lowercase r is actually a P. It's a pi, and then
too hard. I can't learn that. Learning is done for me. It might be done for you. You actually learned these way back. Come to think of it,
I know it's still in there. It's still in there, and it is kind of interesting to look and see like the word souvlaki, and kind of go like, oh, like kind of like this is another language where V's and B's kind of come together because it's spelt out with souvlaki, So, anyways, it's kind of dope, and you feel like it's stupid because in some ways I'm like, when I sound out a sign when we drive by it or something, I'm like da 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 da, and I sound it out. I'm like, oh cool, okay, I read that, and then
it's like, well, what does it say?
Well, no. So sometimes it sounds similar-ish to something. Like literally, I sounded it like Pandora, and it was like, so it was
right.
just like sure, okay, and but the thing is that like you do that, and then you're like, oh, it's like if I was reading Spanish or another language that is already using letters I recognize, then I'd be able to do the same thing. But because there's that extra step, you feel a little extra special about it.
Yeah.
But
I'll encounter Spanish. It's like, I don't speak Spanish, but I can ballpark a couple words because I speak French.
Yeah, no.
And they're related languages.
Every time I see a theta and I the little circle with the line in it, and I'm like, oh, that's the th. That feels like I'm doing some work. But anyway, it was that was rad. And the compressed week was more or less like the first leg of the trip was landing in Athens, and that's where I got to say shout outs to Tassos and Matt, the folks that were out at the Tekken World Tour event that was happening out there. It's a there's a little kind of con, like mixed game and some music and various kind of whatever miscellaneous entertainment stuff to get together events. The Gamers Lounge Hype Festival. Went out to that, had a small meetup, met some people, got some games of Tekken and walked over to this again little bracket they had running, and I saw KDZ, who is like an American player that I know from various other events. I was like, what the fuck are you doing in Greece, bro?
I mentioned you putting that out there. Like, I went halfway across the world and ran and walked into a room, and there he is running sets.
It was like, what the fuck? Like, actually what, He's like, yeah, what's up? They were like, oh, yeah, let's play. Okay, we played some games, and it's like, what the fuck's going on, And it just, he happened to be like with his family on a cruise, like tour, going past this side of the world at the same time. So hey, look at that. We're in the same area. We've been looked up.
I gotta get off this cruise and play some goddamn matches.
There you go. Exactly. So yeah, that was a fun, unexpected encounter. Got some good games in over there. And then Tassos and Matt took me out to one of their favorite souvlaki spots and got some good eats in there. Got some good like deep fried saganaki and feta and just all the full spread and incredible foods. a real good time was had. So shout outs to them, and as well, like yeah, running the little FGC scene out there, and I want to say Tassos also has his channel. Is it Legacy of Kaiser? I believe. So little FGC channel doing like Guilty Gear. I think some horny videos or so. I believe. So anyway, cool stuff. Shout outs to them, and I appreciate the hospitality. Genuinely good folks and good hangs. Sipping on ouzo was a thing that did happen. We it's one of the traditional like alcohols. You throw some ice in there and then let it melt and then kind of sip it over time. And it's very licorice flavored. It's yeah. So that's the thing. It's a classic traditional drink, very licorice flavored. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but like I'm okay with it. But my eyes were opened before the trip was over to a different old liqueur called mastiha, and it is just yeah, it's Greek liqueur, and it's hard to describe because like there's almost like there's very little distinct flavor to it except for the light burn of the alcohol and a sweetness.
Right.
You know? And
is it like living in its own aftertaste?
It really is, and it's very pleasant, and it's just like vanilla enough that the moment you sip it, it's like almost like a welcome drink, right? But like the first thing you're like, oh, this would work amazingly in cocktails, and like so I'm like, can you mix this into something? And they're like, yeah, sure, we can do like a Greek mojito using it and stuff. But yeah, mastiha or mastika is my new favorite. That thing's incredible, and I bought a fucking bottle back with me of that. It is an aperitif, and it is sippable or mixable, and it's the ones where you look and you're like, wow, that's so sweet and nice and goes down easy. What the 40%, huh? Okay, cool. Yeah, just deceptively smooth tasting for the percentage, but wonderful stuff. If the particular brand I was recommended was Skinos, if you do decide to partake. Yeah, so spent that first leg of the trip hanging out, meeting those folks. Then the next couple days we're doing the museum stuff. So went to the Acropolis, the Parthenon, got to see the museums and like the big collection of all the the old statues and everything traditional. It was also cool listening to there's like a walking tour kind of podcast guide that you can play while going through it and stuff. If anyone does, I would recommend, what was his name? The Rick Steves audio guide, if anything. It's a free little MP3 thing, and when you get to a museum, you click play, and then it just kind of like you walk through it. And yeah, it's cool to see, the big stuff that I learned in art history class in person, and to take it all in its full depth, and seeing it over the ages and such. But it gets really wild when you kind of go further and back in time, and like there's like, okay, there's learning about the modern history, which is like literally the Nazis marching up to the Acropolis and like the crazy shit that happened when that went down. And then there's going a little bit further back in time to like 1821, when they got rid of the Ottomans, who were like running the country for a couple centuries, and like Greek got its independence. And then you go back to the ancient Greek times that like you kind of know about and learn about and such. But like when you go to some areas, you're getting into like Minoan and Mycenaean like ruins and relics, and you're looking at like places that are like, here's a city that is from like 1600 BC, and that's the stuff where it gets really trippy to be looking at like stuff like if you're like, yeah, if you're going like, wow, think about how old how long ago like Jesus was around. Now this was the stuff that was that long ago to him,
There's I was watching somebody talk about this. where the new and the old world have like wild differences in perspective, in that like we don't understand how old things are because nothing here is old.
Mm-hmm.
And people out in Europe don't understand what it means for something to be far away.
Yep.
Because all of their neighboring nations are in a place that you could conceivably bike to.
Yep. It's all right there, built on top of each other. And for us, the concept of like, oh yeah, this is an old place, established 1901.
Crazy.
Like, what? You mean it opened up last week? What are we talking about? Yeah.
Apparently there's a tour guide walking around in Rome, rolling his eyes during the tour, describing certain towers as ugh 15th century additions.
That's insane.
Ugh.
Oh man, wow.
Look at this new shit. Ugh.
Jesus Christ. No, it was incredible because and
just put me back on Sele.
There you go. It was incredible because, well, at some point you're gonna get auto kicked when it.
Oh, that's fine.
You know.
I'll just my mouth.
When it yeah, when you're looking at the progression and stuff, and you're going back to like yo, look at this bowl. Like, it's one thing to see the posture of the statues change from being straightforward with a smile into dynamic and brooding because ain't shit to be happy about in this new era, right? And like the anatomy gets more and more detailed and dynamic and things like that. And like these are all like big changes you can see, but there's an era where it's just like, holy shit, is that a pot? That's fucking incredible. This pot is so old you can't even fathom.
You put things in this.
Oh
my god, we don't have to just keep our water on the floor.
What a wild concept, you know? Yeah. So it was fun to go through a lot of that.
Have you ever seen the YouTube channel called Primitive Technology?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like he's continuing to just, like, for our perspective, he is slowly advancing through various building techniques, but like he's on a speed run of like 200,000 years.
I mean, and just awesome concept too, where it's like, okay, so you buy the land that you're gonna build the shit on, and then doing it makes the videos that makes the money for you to further conserve and buy land to build shit on. And then there's like the copycat channels that are walking through this
They're fake as fuck,
walking through the forest, digging holes and filling them with water.
I'm literally looking at building a primitive house with the most beautiful around bamboo swimming pool. And this is the fucking thumbnail for it, and I'm like, that's a consumer grade swimming pool.
Yep. No, there's super fake dumb fucking sites out there, and the worst part is that what they do is like, what if in some shots they zoom out far enough that you can see like the tire tracks and the you know, and then they fill it up with water, they pretend they're pouring it by hand, and then they leave it there, and then they walk away, and then it just becomes a fucking moss swamp bug nest that ruins the local environment because they're assholes that are trying to crib on the primitive technology thing. It sucks. It's shitty. Like, if you're gonna do that, at least fucking tear it down so that it doesn't have a lasting negative effect, man.
No, I'm gonna create a fucking swamp pit that's gonna breed attacks. There was when we were looking for places out in BC, there was a specific moment where somebody described like, oh well, this place looks nice, and we're like, oh, does it? And then we were then told, by the way, you know that adorable little lake that's next door that looks incredible in photos? Yeah. That's the province's biggest spot for creating mosquitoes. Is right next to this house listing.
Oh God.
So in the summertime, it is like dangerous to be outside near the lake.
Just Shino throwing his bug attacks out at you.
Great in the realtor photo.
Yeah. Oh man. That I mean, there's no cost. There's just zero. That is a yeah. Anyway, wildly and interestingly, out in the sweltering heat, because yeah, obviously your Greece gets very hot. No
Greece. That's
mosquitoes.
why the guys don't wear any clothes.
No mosquitoes. Didn't get
Yeah.
and like I had multiple moments of being out there being like, how are we not getting attacked by mosquitoes right
Yeah,
now?
mosquitoes have gone down a lot lately,
Huh.
everywhere.
I was
And you
just
can decide whether or not that worries you or not.
that is concerning, but my hopes is that it's the season, you know, and it just happens to not be the season where they're breeding or whatever. But we were like pretty much fine, you know, like all things considered. Um, the one of the Athens days. So, and this is one of the big recommendations I would have to anybody that is interested in you know checking out Greece or so is there's some day trip reachable places that you can drive to and make it back to town within the same day. It's like you get like an 8 hour day, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what we did was basically we got. I wanted to check out a bunch of locations, and I wanted to do so in a timely fashion. And we found out that you can basically get a driver to be like, "Yo, you can sit in the air-conditioned car, and we can drive to these spots, and I know exactly how much time these museums are going to take, and I know exactly how much time to spend to get like a list of 20 or so places in." And it's really and it was like I was like that sounds like a lot, but it flows really well because the dude who's also like Yorgos, shout out, he was pretty like awesome because he was also knowledgeable about everything that we were going by. So like as you're going to the place, he's telling you about what's going on historically, and then you get there and like check it out, you know.
I hear though they have those types of tours in Brazil too. You
Uh,
get off the plane and you walk up to a guy who says he knows all the good spots, and you're like, absolutely.
You know what? I'm sure every country probably has things like that. But in this case, it was a very legit service. Um, so,
It depends where you go because it's the same service in every country, and it's just like
Yeah.
use that one. It's good.
okay.
Or don't use that one.
well, yes, and knowing as well that like there's a lot of potential to be scammed in Greece. That's one of the countries where a lot of that can happen. Um, Google reviews and Yelp are your friend. I just checked the reviews on everything I signed up for, and I checked the like Reddit comments for people talking about what they would recommend, and just did some research. You know, most of the
But it's
things,
not. Mm.
most of the things I looked into, almost everything I didn't. I improvised some days, but most of the things I signed up for and whatnot, I just looked into to make sure I'm like, is this legit? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool, and that worked out. So I encourage folks to do that. Um, but what we got was the ability to go check out this really awesome old city, the old capital called Nafplio, which
Mhm.
was like yeah, waterside, just old style, like very old Montreal style kind of vibe. Which it's interesting because if you know like Montreal to some degree, you know like the most European ass city in North America, so you kind of see you're used to that sort of like cobblestone street, old building kind of look of things. But then it leads up a wall to a giant uh, sanctuary like fort that is like again infinity old and has an incredible view and yeah, all that stuff. So um one thing that was cool to know that I was like listing the right places was every time I was like talking to people from Greece about where I was going, people were like, "Okay, yeah, no, that place is good, right?" Like
Right.
there's the don't fuck with that, we hate that shit, and then there's like, "Oh yeah, okay, good call." A little bit off the beaten path on that, but that's a good place, or places where they go on vacation themselves or go to check out, you know. So yeah, Nafplio was one of them. Um, and then went to the islands and specifically to Paros, which is there's okay. So like of all the different islands, there's Mykonos, which is the don't go, fuck that. This is just a tourism nightmare, hellscape of an island that no longer resembles anything that like people
Why
that
does
actually
that
live in
name
Greece.
sound so familiar?
I mean, it's a very popular name for a destination in
Is
Greece.
that where goddamn ABBA, Mamma Mia?
I don't know.
Might be.
I don't know, but Mykonos is it's 100% tourismville, and you're getting ridiculous prices and ridiculous just the least potential authentic experience ever. Then secondary to that is Santorini, which is that same experience but lessened, but at the same time it's built around it was it's a caldera, which is like a sunken volcano. So it's a really cool view because basically thousands of years ago a volcano erupted, built this giant like island formation, and then the middle of it collapsed underwater, and it created essentially like a donut shape with then like a middle volcanic island, and like everything that you is built is facing the center, and the sun sets perfectly down the middle of that. So like it's very, very beautiful to catch. And so there's a bit of a like, yeah, you want to go there and you want to catch that regardless of the tourism, because that's still a really incredible, beautiful view. And I agree with that. It was very nice, but I just went for one day and I could see a lot of the chaos, and yeah, there's a you got to do your sort of, I guess, tourism overpriced nonsense kind of experience balanced with like, I'm in here to see this historic place or this historic view and then get out, which we managed to do. It was hilarious though, getting off the ferry and seeing a sign with like a dude holding a sign up that said like cheapest taxi prices, come here, and he's like beckoning people coming off the boat over, and right next to him is another dude with a sign saying cheapest prices down, way down that way, go 50 meters down, and like literally he's like, no, keep going, and the guy next to him is like, no, come here. And like they're having a battle. Like all these two dudes do all day is just fight right next to each other. And he's like, you, looking at you, I'm looking at you. God. Come here, look, come this way. And the guy's like, no, don't listen. Keep going that way.
And here's the question: is who has the cheapest taxi prices?
You don't know. That's the thought, right? I'm sure. That is the question. None of the prices are listed, of course.
Fuck no.
I'm sure you have to get in and find out.
In a fucking haggle society, why would you list the price?
But just the wildness of that, like right away, you're like, okay, that sets the tone. I know where I am. On Paros, the other island I was at, which is again gorgeous, really nice place to stay. It's like you're not gonna get like you can Uber in Athens, you can Uber even in Santorini. You can't really Uber on the smaller islands, so that's where you're like, okay, I'm at the mercy of the taxis. There's a lot of those people around, and this is where you can get scammed and stuff, so I'm a little bit more like wary and such. And there's a lot of dudes that are just like, I'm a taxi driver, but I'm also like whatever you need on the small island, here's my card, call me for whatever purpose. And and like so yeah, there was a dude who's like, yeah, do you need a ride up to whatever? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, let's take it. And he's like, oh, showing the like, here's what the car looks like, and here's everything's valid, etc. And I was like, okay, but I know you're out here soliciting, and there's probably going to be something sketch to this. So let me just keep my head up and see where it is and what's going on with it. And I'm okay to get scammed when I know my options are limited and I understand the nature of what it is, right? So, in other words, the scam in this case was, I'm going to drive you by like my friend's restaurant and be like, later on today, you should go eat here. It's a really good place.
Not a scam? That's just like good business.
Yeah, but it's just like, okay, you're going to take the route that is going to go by certain places and be like, go here, go there, this beach actually, and kind of like, I'm like, all right, that's your bit, that's fine. I have no issue with that. it's not a like pulling into a sketchy place and weird people are showing, you know what I mean? Nothing like that, right? It was just like, all right, your whole bit is essentially you're gonna get me to the destination, but we're gonna take the scenic route as we go past the places where you probably get a cut. You know, I understand the nature of that. That's fine. I thank you. We get to our location, no problem. And yeah, and then the actual place we stay, of course, like having a really cool manager of the rental room was like, okay, here's all the places you should go. Here's what I suggest you should check out. This is really good food. This place is this guy's grandma's house that they just make home food every day, and you could just go get some of that if you'd like. And I'm like, if you want to get a really legit experience, that's really cool. This place right next to that, don't fuck with that place. Never go there. They don't do it. You know? And we're like, really? What's the deal? And then like, yeah, sure enough, you go on Google Maps and you look and you're like, oh yeah, this is where like they have a price listed, but then the price has like an asterisk, and the asterisk says, you know, for a kilogram or whatever, so you don't get the real price until the bill comes out. And even when the bill comes out, it might not be the real bill, and 15 layers of dirt and bullshit, awful photos of like non-meals.
One of the first things that I just popped in while you started, like right as you were like talking about starting your trip, I'm like, I just need to double check. Is Greece a haggle country? It is.
It can.
It is a haggling country.
Yeah, if you're doing...
As such, all prices are vague, approximate suggestions.
I didn't do a ton of shopping, so there wasn't much of haggling to do. I was kind of there for the experience mostly and the fucking food. But it's like...
Food can be haggled.
It can be haggled. This is true. But this place I'm describing, like the you know, the finishing touch on all of the scams is, you know it because they're blasting music so loud that you can't think. So if you're going to get into a screaming match arguing over anything, no one can hear that you're getting into a screaming match. Anyone who gets upset at the service, it's like the table right next to him can't fucking, and you got to yell your order anyways.
Are you trying to hurt my feelings because I can't understand you at all?
You know, like we're all talking at this volume. So are you mad or you just try to order a drink? I don't know. Incredible, you know. Yeah, so there's again, check your reviews and you know, and organized by priority. When I was picking where to stay, my number one priority was air conditioning, because there's tons of places that were like, this place has an incredible view, incredible everything, incredible service. Air conditioning,
leave the room.
Air conditioning doesn't fucking work. You're just gonna sit there and die at nighttime, you know. So all that is great. Encountered a really nice little Lukumades spot, which is essentially Greek Timbits is the best way to describe them. They're like, I
never thought I'd hear those words next to each other in my life.
Yeah, they're beignets. They're little donuts, and then you put some white chocolate and then honey and drizzle all over them, and fucking incredible. They're you know, straight out of the fryer, glazed in a million sweet things, and just super good. But it's a glorified Timbit, traditional. Those are great. And yeah, we kind of wandered through some streets, and it's really interesting to wander through, you know, Cammy's level in Street Fighter Alpha 3. That you just kind of wander through that. Just everything is the, you know, cobblestone street, the white buildings, the roofs, and just, you know, beautiful beach view, that type of thing. A lot of the island cities are kind of like that, and the difference between a side street where people live and a main street where it's all business is just the crowd on it. So we kind of wandered around a little bit, just to get a feel for it, and had one or two moments of like someone kind of wandering by going like, hey, where are you looking to go? Because here, not so pretty. You want to probably go back that way. And it's like, oh, is it like a danger thing, or like a, you know, like just a tourism thing? And the guy was just kind of like, this way. You know, it was like, Okay, fine. And but because like the places that, or he's like going saying don't go, I'm like, but that's a beautiful alleyway with flowers literally like being like, fall petals off the tree onto the ground. Also cats running around having fun because
Yeah.
the entire nation is run by cats. It's crazy.
It's just one of those places. Got it.
Everywhere at all times. You're gonna see a couple dogs, nonstop cats. And it's fun. What's fun too is like a lot of them are just kind of like.
Correctly, the dogs and cats there can use public transit.
I don't know if it was. When I heard about that, I don't think it was Greece. I remember that being.
Another Russian dogs can use public transit.
I remember the Russian one. That's what I remember seeing. Yeah. In this case, the cats are all kind of like town cats. They're street cats, but like they're taken care of by the town essentially, and like all the way to the point where when you go up to the Acropolis, the top, the fucking Parthenon at the top of the hill, there's cats laying in the shade there too, because people that work there are like taking care of them and stuff. So yeah, there's strays, but the strays are all kind of kept. And like they have names, and one of the restaurants we went to, all the cocktails were named after the cats around town.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, super fun. Yeah, super fun. And Punch Mom is like, oh, like going up to kind of go for like a pet or go for a smell or such, and I'm just like, you fool, you absolute ignorant fool, to think they have any interest in you, a random person that's just another like tourist walking by, without food in your hand. How dare you? Because you approach them and they look at you like, get the fuck out of my way. What are you doing? No pets, leave me alone. Right? Pet it out.
Pet the fucking cat, Woolie.
But if you've got a little foil thing that's like a Lucumades container in your hand, or a souvlaki wrap in your hand, yo, what's up? They come, they're all about that life. They super want that attention, but you got to have some shit in your hand. You got to have an offering. Just the absolute hubris to think you can approach with nothing but love and get any attention.
No, man, these are mercantile cats.
I mean,
you give, I give.
Well, that's it, right? Because you got to imagine that it's like any pet that's like, we have like a neighbor cat, for example, that absolutely loves people and loves the attention and loves pets. And it's an indoor cat. It's getting outside a little bit, not seeing a ton of people besides our neighbors. So, it's like, yeah, it loves the affection. But if you think about like a petting zoo, right? Like those animals are petted the fuck out. They're human the fuck out. They're not, they don't need any of that. But what you got in that bag though? What you eating? What's in there? Let's talk about that.
Reminds me of Funny Island.
Yeah.
Here, little rabbit.
Right?
Here, little rabbit.
Exactly.
No, nothing. But the sound of plastic rustling, here they come.
Eyes tingling red, right? Laser eyes. Ding! Like, absolutely. So, yeah, fucking cats everywhere. Bring offerings. We wandered around the corner into just a crowd going nuts, popping off, and we were just like, what's happening here? Flags were going, and we're like, I don't recognize that flag. And then like flares start popping off and like smoke, and it gets crazy, and drums are banging, and we're like, oh, what? Huh? And it's like, oh, the football team, right? Olympiakos FC are they're the first Greek team to like win a championship in forever, and like they're the best Greek team that got the cup. And so they were doing the tour of like, almost like when the Stanley Cup goes around, they brought the trophy over to Paros Island, and then everyone was able to go pose with the cup and take a picture, and it was essentially like like the ultras, if you've heard about them. They're like
I've not.
It's like football fans in Europe. They have like the coordinated like fans that are like the ultras, which have their chants and their uniforms and their flares, and they go crazy. Exactly. And like they have to be let in separately through a side door, because if they clash with the other ultras, it's just gonna be a war. They're actually gonna get violent and nuts. But like, yeah, that level of like fandom and an organization popping off, and we just wandered into that crowd, and that was super cool. I was like, oh shit, we just happened to be there for that. Caught some of that on camera as well. Yeah, just the full coordinated like war chants almost of the football teams, you know.
All that internalized European blood feudism just doesn't have anywhere to go anymore.
It's gotta be on the pitch. That's what it's for.
Gotta come out somewhere.
Absolutely, it has to, and not just European, global, dude. It's literally just us. We're the only ones.
Yeah, it's just the new world.
We're the only ones that give no fucks. Everyone else gives a fuck, man. Oh. Anyways, I stand by my thought that I know that the tradition at this point, much like baseball, means a lot. But indoor soccer, I played that mode once in ISS, and it was like just smaller field, more goals, no out of bounds because the ball bounces off the wall and back into play, and that shit was awesome. And I felt like I was playing like the NBA Jam version of soccer, and I'm like, this is rad as shit. This should be the thing more. But anyway, that was what we did there. Yeah, and then pretty much that's more or less it, you know. So fucking cool time, good stuff. Shout outs to the
Greece, good or bad? Let's hear it.
Greece, great, very cool.
Oh, fantastic.
Very
still good.
Athens has a it's really interesting. Like, I didn't know that it had such a huge graffiti scene, and like there's tons of graffiti there, and like a lot of that is there's like street murals, and then there's like tagging, and like just a very developed thing from I mean, a lot of the European capitals have it as well, but like a lot of the stuff from like the financial crisis that happened a couple of years ago, and there's a whole you know, a lot of I think they had like the biggest like unemployment for like the youngest group of people for like a while there. So just a whole lot of like fuck the goddamn system rage that came out and went straight onto the walls. And it's really interesting to see that in contrast with, again, like old pillars just in the middle of downtown and stuff. I took a photo of an old it's an old like vase, and it looks authentic, but it's an old vase and it's literally just a garbage can. And it's near in the Plaka like Parthenon area, and it's like, yeah, we've got so much ancient history around. There's just corners of it happening casually over there. There's a little park with an indentation. You can go to, like, yeah, we're not like, here's a sign. This is an old pillar. It used to be something cool, but it's fine. Just go check. You know, no big deal.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because as soon as you said garbage can, I'm like, you know, out here in the new world, we're making moves too. Just today, they unveiled in New York City that they're gonna have this new invention called a bin that you put your trash into, so you don't just throw your entire household or business's trash all over the fucking street.
No kidding.
In New York City for the rats.
That's what an invention. That's incredible.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
That's crazy. While I was there in Greece, though, there was news, like literally on the 1st of this month, they unveiled the new labor proposition that is the first EU country to enable the 6-day work week, or 2 extra hours on your 5-day work week. So that's awesome. Everyone's really excited about that.
I don't know if you remember, but there was a whole thing about Greece and how Greece did their money bad and then had no money.
Not great. That was a thing. It continues. It's the stuff's supposedly getting better, but there's issues. And work more now or yesterday, but do it is not awesome. So that happened literally while we were there. But yeah, no. All in all, fucking.
Meanwhile, you'd usually feel kind of bad as a tourist, except tourism is like Greece's like only primo like booming industry, and it always will be, because people want to go to Greece.
I mean, I don't know enough to say only, but I will say that it certainly is a humongous part, seeing as it's one.
You know what? I'm probably wrong, but I might not be, so I'll work off of that.
Well, it's a fucking storied ass ancient spot that like everyone, you know, it's like ancient history all points back to that shit. And like you've got like, you know, because you've got wars over the years of destruction of like, you know, destruction of knowledge and destruction of culture and stuff, of like we're conquering and we're blowing your shit up. But then you've got like Rome being like, okay, so we're taking over, but we're also huge fanboys. which is so wild, because it's like, imagine if we were like, imagine if North America like fought Japan now, and like you're like, okay, we're going to war and we're taking over, but everybody don't touch Akihabara. Like, okay, like huge weeaboos, you know what I mean? Like, you just like, it would be wild. But it's like, it's a little bit of that, of just like, okay, so, you know, we're in charge now and we're gonna put up some statue, but oh man, oh fuck, there's the arches, dude, you know. Like, wait, are you conquering, or what are we doing here? It's huge fanboys. So historically, that's been the case for a bajillion fucking a gorillion years, you know. So of course.
Okay, I'm not insane. I did pull the word gorillion from somewhere.
Yeah, that I want to say that
I said it the other day, and I was like, I didn't think of that. Where did that come from? And I couldn't put a finger on it.
I think it was a webcomic I read it from.
Possibly.
But anyway, yeah, no. So that's the deal. Is everybody, like, tourism has been happening since ancient Rome. Tourism to Greece, that is, like.
Well, I mean, to be fair, historical tourism was often done at the head of the army.
Of course.
So it's slightly differently.
Of course.
Slightly differently? That's wrong, Pat. Slightly different.
And then you can also go check out the changing of the guard, which you know, I mean, so like. I've talked about, like, I've seen videos of the India-Pakistan border will have like the changing of the guard, where it looks kind of like the Ministry of Silly Walks, essentially. Like, they'll do these really big, exaggerated kicks and like massive steps with the rifle flipping and stuff, and it's like, you know, we do, like, we're used to like what's the word for? There's a word for like essentially like soldiers in formation that do the gun flipping and the full.
Nerds? That's
not the word I was thinking of.
It is.
Right.
Admit it.
Anyway, dressage and that it turns out, so at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier there, where they have every hour the guards come and they switch it up and they do these big exaggerated steps and everything. The reason for a lot of those exaggerated motions is because when you stand still for an hour and don't move, that's that's a really great way to get the blood passing back through your limbs, is to do these big Ministry of Silly Walks, kicks and steps and turns and putting your hand up and everything. So all those exaggerated motions are being fancy, but also it's fancy pageantry, but it's also doing stuff to get the blood flowing after, like, that's why still.
You know the British guards have the big stupid hats, right? Those guys. You ever notice that there's like a weirdly disproportionate amount of videos of them just like passing the fuck out on their feet, like just tipping right the fuck over?
Is that a thing? Yeah.
Yeah, it's because they have to stand still at attention in that big fucking hat.
For
hours.
Yes, the thing is the people who do the duty of learn how to do that, right? Like, you go through enough training to be able to stand there and take it. Although the heat and such, I'm sure eventually becomes unbearable. But it's always awesome whenever some tourist like crosses a line, leans too far forward or in, or steps over, and like, it's like, motherfucker, I'm still a guard. I'm gonna beat your ass. Like, the fuck do you think you're doing? Like, there is a very instant snap to, this is all like taking the photo for the tourism, etc. But you kind of forget at a moment that, like, no, they will yell and grab you and toss your ass out when you act that way.
I'm just thinking, it is possible that they're standing there and they are like, they like become aware of themselves for the first time in their lives and go, oh, I'm in England. And then their body attempts to die. It just attempts to just self-destruct and go, oh, fuck it.
There you go. You got it in there.
Thank you.
What's always hilarious, and is just depressingly par for the course is going up to the Parthenon, walking around at any of these things, and a whistle blows because I look over and some dumb lady is stepping beyond the boundary to take her selfie at the ledge where the fucking pillar is. And they're like, get the fuck back behind the line, you idiot. And it's like, oh, well, okay, Jesus, chill out, whatever. And like at walking,
this shit is older than 10 Americas. Get away from it.
And walking further down the line, and just the people behind us, with accents from somewhere else. I'm not sure what country. Were just like, it's always the Americans, huh? And they're like, yep, it's always the Americans. And I was like, oh God, it just. There's just, it's like you have.
I don't want to get into it. Because I don't want to say these things with my own mouth into this recording. But there are multiple different groups from a couple different countries that are known to be particularly bad travelers. The one I am very willing to speak about is Quebecers are terrible travelers.
If there's a general selfishness to your community, to your nation, to the way you were raised, if you're raised in a selfish culture, then you're going to give less fucks about everything happening around you, and you're going to be like, that barrier rule is just a suggestion. I want to get my photo. And so if they stop me, then they stop me, and everyone around is like, God, just can you not be you for 2 seconds?
This is probably wrong to feel, but I'm going to say it anyway. I recently saw a video of a gentleman who works at some United States national park, right? And he is on his phone, possibly on his break, taking video of tourists hopping the fence in front of some enormous gorge. And the fence is like, don't go over the railing. You could just fall and die. And people are taking like Instagram photos with like, like the back of your heel is on air.
Yep. 100%.
And I see that and I'm like, maybe the wind should do something for a change.
That's what I'm saying. I talked about when I went to, when I saw the fucking, the sneaker waves in Iceland and the fucking giant waterfall and people getting on the wet rocks beyond the fence barrier to take their selfies. And I'm like, man, who would feel bad? Who would feel bad if what is supposed to happen happened at this point? Is it really a tragedy to describe it? When you Darwin Award yourself out for a fucking selfie?
We talked about this.
Selfie side. Yeah.
We didn't come to this conclusion, but it just clicked in my head because you asked who would feel bad. And I'll tell you, the people who would feel bad are telling you that they would have done the same thing. Because in their minds, like, well, anybody could have made that mistake. And it's like, that's not true. That's actually that's not true. This is a conscious mistake decision.
I saw the complete opposite the other day. I saw a video of a dude with a fear of heights getting to a cliffside and like getting on his face and crawling to the edge and getting his fingers over and just barely being able to manage peeking.
You know what? You know what? I get it. I used to be terrified of heights. I used to be terrified, like knees shaking, scared of heights. But we went to Toronto on a trip to see family, and you go up in the CN Tower, and CN Tower has like the glass. And I'm like, well, I don't know when I'm like 10. Like, I don't know when I'm gonna be back in the CN Tower, and I'm gonna feel really stupid if I don't step on it. Mm-hmm. So I looked over it and then I ran across it as fast as I could because that's all I could handle.
Yeah. Tokyo Tower, right? Looking down, same thing. But, it's again, the difference between that versus let's jump on it to prove that it's what? like again, the guy who bashed himself against the fucking
alligators.
the guy who bashed himself against the wall in the skyscraper, like to prove what, man? Like, what is the like? You get your little bit or you die. Like, what are the outcomes
Bro,
here?
we're talking about this and I'm like filled with terror because I have a little boy, which means I'm gonna have to be the adult in the situation of like, don't touch the candle, it will burn you. Okay. Don't. You're moving towards the candle. Don't do it. Okay, I won't. Ow, my hand.
Yeah.
And like I know that I'm gonna have to deal with that because what I'm just describing is my dad telling me not to touch a candle when I was 4 years old.
God, I love how like that never goes away. We just get bigger and start calling them intrusive thoughts.
You know that psych experiment where they leave you alone in a room and they're like, "Don't hit this button; it will shock you."
Right, yes.
And they just leave you there.
And then eventually,
dude, I don't think I would last even like 5 minutes.
Like,
I think I would probably like push the button before they had left the room.
1,000,000%. Just out of sheer boredom, there's like dudes just mashing it like with the full fucking motion blur on the hand, like. Yeah.
I want to see how bad it'll shock. I gotta know.
Anyway, it's that the cringe aura of just every time I've been somewhere high and dangerous and it's fairly crowded, there's always that person, and it sucks. But anyway,
going to Japan and Paige explaining to me because she had been there for a while that she had overheard lots of people seeing any piece of garbage on the street. Oh, foreigners
are
here.
Americans were
and
here.
So like she told me that and I was like, oh, let me always carry a bag and just jam my Cokes in there. Oh my God.
Feels terrible, man.
I don't want to be the negative stereotype for everyone. Like, cause everybody has to worry about being the negative stereotype for their group, but what the group is, everyone else it's the whole group. Oh,
I hate it. Yeah, and I guess and beyond that, went to one of the beaches and had a good time. And as I was walking to get a drink, just get flagged over by this couple, and they're like, "Hey, what's up? Where are you guys from?" You know, I was like, "Oh, Montreal." I'm like, "Oh, cool. We're from California." I'm like, "Oh, cool." I'm like, "Yeah." Originally from Texas, though. We're like, "Oh, yeah." And he just points. He's like, points at the shorts. Bucky's. I had to ask. I'm like, oh you know God. You know it. So
Bucky's has a long arm.
Representing all the way around the world, doing it. But in the same vein though, like while that's like, hey, okay, you see the beaver, you gotta fucking ask, you know. To which of course there was news that specific day too was a fire broke out and burnt the original Bucky's location, apparently, which was a tragedy, only to discover that actually across the street they built a bigger, larger, more fantastic Bucky's, and hopefully
more fireproof Bucky's.
And that original one was actually destined to be demolished, so it really was no big deal.
I guess it worked out then.
Yeah, everything was totally fine. You can't kill the beaver. Like, and I just love, just again, it's in brackets, Canadian who goes to Bucky's once.
It's got you, man. It's got its fingers in your heart.
But I was wearing a shirt, and a lady came up and pointed at my shirt and went like, I was wearing my Boss Coffee shirt, and the lady came up and pointed at my shirt and went like, "Oh, did you see him in concert?"
Fuck. Oh man.
I was like, huh? And she's like, yeah,
Holy
we were supposed to go see the boss. I'm like, oh, are you from Jersey? Are you from Jersey? And it's like, yeah. The Bruce Springsteen. Like, no, but hey, no, yeah, he's the boss. singing about the working man in Jersey. That's the it's like yeah. No, it's like just very brief little just talk about Bruce Springsteen on the fucking Parthenon. Like no, lady, it's a coffee shirt, but that's cool, But it's just like, oh, did you go see him in concert? Anyway, that was a good time. Oh, and lastly, speaking of coffee, the way to do it, they have two styles there that you can get: Freddo cappuccino and Freddo espresso, and they're basically like a way to, it's like a cold brew, but like kind of done frothy and different and it's incredible. Just it's like, I like iced coffee. It's better than iced coffee, and it doesn't have the heart attack potential that an ice cap from Tim Hortons gives you. If you have an ice cap, those things are just heart attacks ready to go. And yeah, this is a better solution. And it was wild because like seconds after drinking it, I was like, oh, I've got energy. I'm good to go. So shout outs to Freddo espressos. Amazing. That powered it up. All right. Yeah, that's Greece. And you're gone.
Glad you had a great time, man. Oh no, I've lost my vision. No, wait, that's wrong.